Into the Nexus is a production of amove.tv. Bookmark amove TV for other great video games and eSports podcasts. Into the Nexus is sponsored by listeners like you via patreon.com/ITN. Welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, he's Kyle Ferguson, and we are here to dive straight into the hero-filled vortex that is Heroes of the Storm. Hey, Kyle, how you doing?
Oh, hey, Garrett, how's it going?
Hanging out in New Mexico, trying to make podcasts happen just as well as if I was home and nothing had changed.
You're a professional.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, you're in my old stomping ground, so I'm jealous.
I can absolutely see why you like it here so much. Knowing you.
The mountains are inspirational. They're beautiful.
Yeah, I just want to go up to the top of them and try to cast some spells.
Yes. There was a lot of sticks and dirt clods thrown in my youth through the New Mexican valleys.
Well, the real question is, Kyle, did you yell lightning bolt while you were doing it?
No, but that's a conversation for another time.
Well, I was going to argue, actually, you strike me more as a magic missile guy.
I am. That's true. Technically, I played a necromancer, but, you know.
All right, fine.
Right? You're bridging the gap here, man. How deep do you want me to go? I'm ready for D&D anytime you want.
As deep, I don't know. As deep as the Mines of Moria.
Heroes has been fantastic.
Heroes has been fantastic. There's, so for the folks out there that don't know, I've been traveling this whole week. I've been in New Mexico this whole week. It's been a challenge, to say the least, to get in some gaming while moving around. So, Kyle, I had to live vicariously this week through Heroes of the Storm eSports alone.
What a week to do it in.
I was about to say, I couldn't have picked a better week at random to have to do that. There were some fantastic Heroes eSports on display this week, and I've been having a pretty jolly time.
Funny how this event, which we'll get into more later, just upped the community.
Yeah.
Just fantastically. Everyone's in a great mood. People are trying hard in their hero league. We made it through the first weekend, which I did avoid playing in after my Friday night, where I was like, how bad can it? Whoa! And dove on out of there.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. So your games have been going okay? It's been treating you well?
Yeah, I've been having a great time. It's really nice to be out of rank 1 because I'm not just fearful to play. If I mess up, how much work do I have to do to get back rank 1 and all that sort of thing? It's just fun to play right now. It's fun to be grinding out games, doing the climb or the fall that may be happening right now. But either way, it's fantastic. I love messing with my roster. I just get so geeky about it. I mean, if I had all the little action figures, I'd lay them up and put them on shelves and be like, oh, here's my tier 1, here's my tier 2. I'm always rearranging my heroes list in game, trying to find out what works best for me, heading over to Hotslogs, checking my datas. So I've been having a fantastic time, and it's been damage-centric for me.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, honestly, knowing you.
It's how you carry right now. It's weird. It's a strange world out there. Sometimes it's tanking, sometimes being a clutch support. But right now, it feels like things are so wacky and people have so many different ideas. If you can just bring raw, awesome damage that is like to be picked or banned by the enemy team, you will be in a good spot.
Yeah.
Put that little asterisk on it, because I'd love to take Gazel all day long, but I'm not stealing a pick there.
I think you should just take Gazel all day long.
Maybe that's what's missing, right?
Yeah.
Let that Li-Ming go by. Whatever. First pick Gazlo.
Well, tell you what, Kyle. Since we didn't get duo-specific MMRs for when you play with a friend, tell you what, when we finally just get fed up with it and decide we're going to pump some money into our Smurf account so that we may Hero League together, you can play all the Gazlo you want. How's that sound?
That sounds fantastic. Thank you. The duo thing is an interesting topic, though, because it does seem to be the way to do it right now. The way to get Grandmaster. There are those going solo. But
Yeah.
and if in a 5-man team, there's going to be at least one solo grandmaster in there. But seeing the pictures, it's all parties of 2 right now.
It really is. It really is. I'm excited to get back and really kind of start hitting the Hero League grind myself. But for me, I don't know. I was really, the more I think about it, and I've been trying to meter this thought because I feel like every time we get something new in any game, I try to keep my I don't know, entitled gamer like down, because it's so easy to go, this is cool, let's talk about what else I want. But I really wish that there was a team MMR, not like Team League, but when you and I queue up, we have our own MMR together in Hero League that's separate from your solo MMR and my solo MMR, and so on and so forth.
Baby steps.
I know.
We're deep into the game, though, so I understand. You're excellent. Floodgates are open. Let's go. Quality of life changes across the board. Fix that hero. Get that guy some auto attack damage.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, before we get into the meat of the show, Kyle, because there's quite a bit to talk about today, we did want to remind or let our patrons know. I say remind. This is the first time on the episode we're mentioning this. Our next patron hangout, Kyle. It's coming up next Friday on July 1st. All of the info can be found over at patreon.com/ITN. So if you've never done one of these before, we do them over Skype. Super simple. Just call in, say hi, ask us a question. It's a good time. So we'll see you then. And again, go check out the Patreon for details on that. Now, Kyle, you want to talk about like a balance update?
Maybe.
Maybe some HGC?
That sounds good.
Maybe dive back into the health sustain discussion we started last week?
Well, sort of.
All right, well, too bad. It's happening anyway. This week's Heroes of the Storm news.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
Yeah, no clue what that means.
So, yeah, we did get a balance update this week, which, of course, I looked at and I was like, oh my God, crap, I can't play it this week. So I will be playing Question Man, Kyle, to you.
Then the answer will be nothing's changed.
Okay. Well, fine. So should we just skip this whole thing?
Sorry, spoiler alert. No, it's an interesting discussion. It really is, because they touch Kael'thas again. And that's interesting.
And he did. His Living Bomb had its damage over time reduced from 84 to 50, while the explosion damage on Living Bomb was increased from 138 up to 200.
So if you're doing the math, 3 ticks of the Living Bomb, this is a 10% overall decrease in damage. So he did get a nerf. Kael'thas fell 1%, still making him the top 3rd character.
Yeah. I was hoping, seeing this, Kyle, that this might mean Kael'thas is actually making it through drafts.
No.
Nope. Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah.
he is. He occasionally does.
Well,
to the
yes.
detriment of the team.
Yes, I saw some of that as well when I was marathoning last week. And in those games, I received Kael'thas, and in those games, we won. But it doesn't happen very often, seems like.
No.
So nothing's really changed there.
And it's tough. And it speaks to how powerful Kael'thas is that his win rate with that many bans continues to be good. I mean, we're seeing Li Ming falling down right now. And I think that's a lack of practice. If I'm going to go into Quick Match, which has a pretty long queue right now, thanks to ranked and unranked play, I mean, if I want to do a game quick, I'm going to go to unranked. That's how I'll queue up faster. Even with the draft, I feel like I get there that much quicker. There's not a lot of room to practice Li Ming. Most people who get Li Ming are just going, she's overpowered, let's go. I can't really hit my skill shots these days because I don't spend my practice time working on something I'm probably not going to get in the first place. And Kael'thas is absolutely that. So how powerful can he be that he still has this fantastic win rate if people aren't practicing him? Quick Match, don't see him at all. Nobody's working on him.
Yeah, I don't know. But you got to play. I guess you have to play Quick Match, and it's wacky.
It's always been wacky.
I didn't say it was news. I was just. Can we just start calling it Wacky Match?
Wacky Match? I like that.
Let's call it Wacky Match. Done. You got to play Wacky Match, Kyle.
And I'm not going to do that because the chances of getting that first pick with him coming through the ban are very low. I am interested, though, in this change because it's a personality change a little bit for Kael'thas. Mostly his damage is intact, but they want to make him more of an AoE mage than what they don't say here, which is a dot mage. which makes me think Gul'dan's coming. You know, this is making room for him.
All right. Kyle, we have an AoE mage.
Jaina?
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's the slow mage, maybe?
The slow mage, right. Is that sounds weighted when you say that, almost like you think slow is synonymous with useless?
I wouldn't go useless, but very easily countered these days. That's the problem with Jaina. And it can be entirely accidental. You don't need a Zeratul or a Tracer, you know, these characters that will dodge skill shots or get out of your zones real quick. Honestly, if you want to fix Jaina, just give her some auto attack damage back, because she's the only burst mage right now who has the downtime to auto attack. If you're auto attacking on Chromie, who's artillery more, but Chromie, Kael'thas, outside of Sun King's Fury, right? You'll get that eventually.
Yep.
And Li Ming. But all three of those guys have talents that you can use to augment your auto attacks and make them better and get it away from what is basically a very bad auto attack. If you don't take that talent, there's no reason ever to auto attack, because your downtime on Li Ming, whoops, I missed all my orbs. Guess what? Here they come. They're coming back.
Yeah, just shoot them off again.
Like, has anyone ever, maybe this has happened, and I'd be interested to hear about it, but has anyone ever raged on you for missing an arcane orb?
I'm sure it probably happened at least once by somebody, because people are terrible, but generally no.
Right, whereas you miss a blizzard, I'm not going to message you, but I'm sitting there going, oh, that was so high value.
Yes.
Now we're out for however many seconds, 16.
Right. No, I'm with you there, man. I'm with you. And I, to cover my own tracks, because I can hear the keyboards already, I wasn't saying Jaden was useless. I was goading Kyle a little bit because, well, Kyle, you get on me all the time for picking Jaina.
Well, you love Jaina.
Yeah,
and I think
do.
it's fantastic. And you play her enough that your skill set with her is pretty good. What I'm more upset about is people who lose the Li Ming, lose the Kael'thas, and they go, I'll first pick Jaina.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem.
Right. And I agree with you. And that's what I was doing. And I shouldn't be. The stronger picks to be taken.
Agreed.
And more importantly, taken away from your opponents. But yeah, I hear you. I'm excited about Gul'dan. But I think there's already crossover in the mage world, so I don't think you'd necessarily need to be diminishing a dot on one character because another character is coming down the pipeline.
That's true.
And also, we're not sure. We're not sure that's how Gul'dan is going to be built, but we would assume, most likely.
Right, and fun to imagine that this is what they're making room for. Honestly, how do you get Kael'thas out of the lead? And it falls to his stun. And if you do something with that, Kael'thas plummets.
He does. So what would you say? I mean, I look at this, and every time I see something like this, I just want to yell at my screen, buff the other heroes. Because there's just a ton of heroes right now that you don't want to pick. And you definitely don't want to first pick, like Jaina, like Chromie. And yeah, Chromie's already been buffed, and Chromie's, had her damage is already extremely high, and it's not how much higher can you take it? Really.
We also did just get protection in the game, so I am always interested to see if these characters are being left powerful for an upcoming hero. It really was fascinating to me that they put out Dahaka right before Tracer. And I don't think Dahaka is a pure Tracer counter, but isolation completely destroys anything she's up to. And that's kind of interesting.
It is, but I don't know.
Right. It's not perfect, but sometimes these things come through. And right now, we just got protection on Medivh. And we have Unstoppable and the whole Iron Skin thing on Johanna.
Yes.
How hard is it to imagine that we're going to have a warrior come out with his trait being protection, where he just negates all damage for a couple seconds, still takes all the CC in the world, but negating that damage?
I think that's a realistic expectation.
In that world, we sort of have a Kael'thas counter, because if they can close the distance, right? I mean, if you can dive back to Kael'thas, that helps a lot. But here, they've reduced his dot damage and upped his explosion damage, giving me time to hit my protection button and dodge that damage.
Fair enough. I'm trying not to take this conversation the way of, well, we still need other heroes that are playable, but...
No, I agree with you completely. If we fill out other people that could counter him, that's a good way to get Kael'thas down. Yeah. I mean, the simplest thing to me is just take his stun, make it a slow, and when you turn on the Verdant Spheres, it's a stun, and it only hits one person. That's crazy, that destroys so much of his kit and what made him so powerful for so long.
I'd like to playtest that. I'd like to see it come up on the PTR.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not confident enough to say I just want to see that change made. But
No, it's a horrible change. Kael'thas would be awful.
But let's talk about some of the other changes they did make. Speaking of Chromie, let's talk about Chromie. Time Trap had its mana cost cut in half, went from 50 down to 25. But it also had its cast range buffed. It was increased by 50%. 50% on Time Trap. It's kind of cool, actually. It also had
really short range.
Yeah, it also had its base health increase from 200 to 300. So just a massive buff to Time Trap.
Yep, no longer collateral damage, just randomly taking it out. You no longer have to really almost face check bushes to put a Time Trap in them. So this is a pretty big buff to Chromie. She went up 1%. I think that's to be expected. Our Chromie players are dedicated people, and there's still a lot of people Chromie curious.
I want a shirt that says Chromie Curious.
Me too.
That's wonderful. I still stand by Chromie. I like Chromie. Oh, I guess I stand beside Chromie because I'm not taking her into Hero League.
Well, and that's something to identify for yourself. If you're looking for heroes out there, it sounds kind of boring on paper, but do it. Like, sit down with yourself and write out your thesis statement. Like, what works for you? And for me, I'm not a methodical enough player for Chromie. I prefer to be creative and auto attack.
All right. Yeah, makes sense. Chromie's not for you.
No.
Finally, Rhaegar got some changes. His basic attack damage was increased, minor, pretty small increase there. Chain heal was changed, though. The primary heal amount was reduced by a significant amount, and the secondary bounce heal was also reduced by a fairly significant amount.
They upped his lightning shield damage. And this kind of speaks to the brawler they seem to have always wanted Rhaegar to be. But without his self-heal on Ancestral, it's just a really tough balancing act to do because that just made it easy. It's so easy to ult cast yourself.
Yeah, it's tough, and with its lightning shield doesn't have the actual shield out of the box. So even if you want to get aggressive with that and mitigate some damage with your own shield, you have to wait until later in the game to do so. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's strange. Also, the Stormcaller talent at level 4 got messed with. The mana return was increased from 3 to 4 per hero hit, and the maximum mana return was increased from 30 up to 40.
Trying to encourage that play style, trying to get people to really just give it a shot. And Rhaegar is going to keep Rhaegar in. This isn't a huge nerf to him. He fell 0.6. Not a lot since this patch came out. This may be a hint of more area effect healers to come, but I doubt it. I think they just want Rhaegar's damage to be good. And right now, damage is always going to be what you want to build in your comp. You need some good stuns. You need a good tank, all this sort of fancy stuff. But really, damage is how you're going to win the game. And if you get through the draft, you lack damage, and you're up to pick a support, right now your choices really are Tyrande and Lily. And I think Lily is the most solid one of those. So if we add Rhaegar into that, let's get a little more damage camp, I think that's a good place for him to be.
I'd like to see him there. Yeah, I'm just not sure that these changes were necessarily enough to get him to be back to his old brawler glory.
No, and I don't think Blizzard wants him to return there, and that's a bit sad.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, those are the changes. Get out there and give him a shot. I would say that I am excited to get home and see how Kael'thas feels, but he'll probably still get banned.
Enjoy him in quick match.
Wacky match, sir. Wacky match.
Wacky match.
Yeah. Get it right. Well, let's talk about the HGC, man, because I had an absolute blast watching these finals. And again, as usual, there's always one person who's like, eSports results are spoilers. I disagree. But anyways, spoiler alert. So the finals were between MVP Black and Tempest, as I'm sure you were aware, Kyle. And as I'm sure you are also aware, those finals were nothing short of spectacular.
They were, and they were such a jump up in skill level that we're used to watching. And also the creativity at work in some of the comps were just great. I mean, it was what great timing, man. You know, people have been down on this game for a bit, and it's pretty sunshine right now. People are very excited because of an event like this. It was well produced. DreamHack always does a fantastic job. A little confusing with the whole World Cup dream hack thing kind of going on, but hey, whatever. Fantastic
Yeah,
games.
it's HGC, but it's all stars or whatever. They have a branding issue. We'll just say that. They have a branding issue. But yeah, no, it was completely awesome. And I'm not disagreeing with anyone who's just like, you should just be watching Korean heroes all the time. I don't know what's wrong with you people.
I think they're right. It's looking that way.
Yeah, I mean, these games were absolutely phenomenal. So I'm not even sure really where to start other than this was so incredibly even matched. It was astounding. I mean, how many times while watching these final 5 games, Kyle, did you in your brain go, oh, well, X team clearly is going to win? And I'm not specifying because there were multiple games where I've said to myself, oh, Tempest has this in the bag. And nope, never mind. No, they didn't. And then there were other games where I was like, oh, MVP totally just has this. There's no way Tempest is coming back. Holy shit, they took it back.
Well, and we're all playing a lot of Hero League right now. So, of course, my first thoughts are, ooh, look at that draft. I think X team won it. When in fact, it was often the weirder team that ended up taking it. I mean, MVP Black repeatedly got what I would say is the preferred comp with thralls and things of that nature. But Tempest just really creative in the way that they were able to continually cut up the battlefield. And in fact, in those later games, like the Towers of Doom, just altogether stop the thrall from doing any damage. And Sanctification, just ruling the day there. Solo tank Tyrael from Tempest.
Yeah. Just, I don't know, man. It was unlike anything I really seen before in Heroes. I had a very good time doing it. The thing that blew my mind probably the most was Tempest Kerrigan comp on Infernal Shrines.
Yeah.
Just, ooh-wee.
And not completely out of the blue. I mean, Kerrigan, that is her map. The one map that you sort of pick her on right now because of the talent spec you can do where you just keep jumping each skeleton. But they executed it great. I loved getting to see some pro Tracer play to that level. How frustrating was that?
Oh, absolutely. And it was interesting. I never really thought about Sticky Bomb as kind of like, you just have to wait. You just have to wait till Sticky Bomb is up so that you can 1v1.
That's right. And that's the way to play Tracer well, is to roam, farm, get your bomb, and then roam again.
Exactly. So it was, there was something of extreme interest in all 5 games. So I'd highly recommend everyone do it. Now, there were patterns as well. There's a lot of Muradin. There was a ton of Falstad. But I don't think it was bad. There was enough variation.
No, and well, we didn't, and like those Falstads, those Gray Mains, everything else in the in-between, those weren't responses to Kael'thas being gone. In fact, they made it through a lot of the drafts. They simply didn't care about those heroes.
They did. There was a lot more, it felt like more weight was placed on Tychus than the heroes you just named.
Which is fascinating in our neck of the woods.
Yes, absolutely. I was sitting there going, did I miss something on, did I miss the memo on Tychus?
What's in the water? We're first banning Zool, kind of makes sense, but Tassadar, I guess we're in pro land here.
That's exactly what it is. It's pro land. It's teams who have studied one another and know what strategies they're going for on what battlegrounds and what each pro player can do with a specific hero.
I think one of the most interesting conversations that came out of this whole event was Muradin, because he was seeing those first pick, first bans, and we're all looking at hot slogs and going, really, Muradin? You mean the second to last hero on all of hot slogs win rates? But there's a couple things that work. He's 2,000 gold. He always has been. He's one of the first heroes that most people pick up. I'm sure that tanks his score a little bit. But actually, we also learned that most people have been playing him wrong. And no longer do you really dive into some of those heavy protection talents at 13 and 16. It's almost more powerful to just go give him the axe and do a sort of damage build. And if someone is about to escape, you jump them and you delete them.
Yeah, there was the amount of times I saw Muradin just hiding in a bush waiting. it was some, like I said, something new for me, which I just really enjoyed. I also I have to give a shout out to the casters, man, because I've watched Caldor cast a ton from StarCraft into Heroes. And I don't know what it was, because I know he's an entertaining guy, but there was just something about this particular series. I was cracking up listening to Caldor react. When I forget which, I think it was Infernal Shrines, when Kerrigan almost died there was a skirmish going on, and he lost his mind, and I was dying because he's just like, I don't know what just happened. I swear Kerrigan just died 3 times, and that particular line had me just reeling. So.
It was a great cast for the finals. I think, if we're going to critique, Caldor's energy, he's cast alone for himself for so long. I think it put off Dreadnought a little bit. Caldor's just exploding, and Dreadnought's like, yep, all right, analysis. And you're like, whoa,
I will give you that. I will give you that. After a while, it was just like, maybe dial it in a hair, but at the same time, he seems so genuinely ecstatic about what was transpiring before him that it was hard for me not to just be like, yeah, you're right, these games are insane.
And they were. And that's the great thing about it. He wasn't building hype for hype's sake. That's just Caldor. If you haven't watched him before, that's what Caldor does. He is that excited all the time, and this was him to 11 because it was legit.
These games were to 11.
Excited.
These games were to 11, Kyle.
I really like the artifact trophy too. Like they actually kind of got, the coin, I guess it would be. It's always kind of nice when they don't get some random blown glass abomination. They actually get something that feels like it's from the world inside the universe.
I like that. I enjoy a good game themed trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just like someone walked into a scrapyard and grabbed a couple chunks of metal, screwed them together, and said, GSL trophy.
And the rotating character models. There was just some really cute stuff on the screen to look at while drafts were going on. It made the whole event just feel snappy.
The production overall was fantastic. The stage was nuts.
Yeah.
Really loved the stage, especially after I was just straight up disappointed with the stage at DreamHack Austin. It was the most bare minimum stage I've seen in a long time.
For off location for DreamHack, the lighting was nice at that event, and I think they did what they could. But they're back home now, and it seemed like everything was coming together.
Yeah, but you know what the most important thing about this is, Kyle? About
the sale.
Actually, yes, it's that I can finally go and pick myself up Buccaneer Falstad, who I have wanted forever.
I just picked up Falstad for myself.
Oh, how's that going?
It's going okay. I got told to uninstall for the first time in a long time.
Ooh, Kyle.
I know. I didn't think I was doing that bad, but
that's rough.
He was a very angry man. And Buccaneer Falstad is still $10 with the sale still going on.
Did you take him into Hero League?
I did take Falstad
Okay.
into Hero League. I've been adding him in, and like I was kind of talking about with these comps, if you have enough damage, you make the comp. It's great if you later on pick up enough CC, if you got a great support, if you have some sort of cutesy executioner build going on. But right now, it's damage, and if I can take the biggest damage thing in the world, take that from the enemy team, and right now, as I kind of talked with Dungtrain last week, it's Falstad. His skill range is too darn high, and so I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. I'm Falstad now. And my very first Hero League game rocked it. Awesome. Second one, totally got tilted by that very angry ETC.
Well, Kyle, the mute button is there for a reason.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going there yet. He was a special snowflake. I haven't run into many guys like that, and he will find himself with a report soon.
No,
he'll be out of Hero League.
It's okay, Kyle. Just I want this to keep happening because I want the role to continue to be flipped where I finally get to help you calm down.
Oh, thank you.
It's a nice change of pace for me.
It doesn't happen often. And
No,
I
it
turned
doesn't.
it I turned it, man. I did not let that keep me down. I'm not scared of Falstad. In fact, I'm ready to become the best damn Falstad I can be. I love Gray Mane. I may upset some folks by not going Mage Falstad. I'm sorry about that. I love auto attacks. We're all going to have to get used to it. Also, I'm kind of a scared winder. We all have to find our confidence. And if I've got 4 people coming at me, regardless of how cool your mosh pit might be, I might freak out a little bit and push them back.
Your quotability in this episode with phrases like "scared winder" is off the charts. By the way.
Well, thank you.
Good God. Falstad is at the top of my list as well for heroes I need to brush up on, heroes I need to really train on and add to my roster. So congratulations, Kyle, because you admitted this publicly. I will now be bothering you a lot for Falstad tutoring.
Yeah, man, bring it. He's great. I mean, right now my roster is becoming just that. Like I have Diablo, my main healer's Lily. Those will come out if they are so called upon, and they shall be awesome from 2 years of playing them. But right now, all my work is going into my first picks, things that I can take from the enemy team that I don't want to face. Li Ming, Kael'thas if it happens, but really Li Ming's getting any of the practice there. Tracer, because I want to get to the back line and kill Morales. I want to get real good at that. Falstad, for the exact same reasons, wins everything else. I want to take him from the enemy team. And Sonya is my last one right now. And it's all just raw damage. That's all I want.
I'll tell you the other thing too is you saying I know it was veiled in an apology, but you saying that you're going auto attack on Falstad. I don't know. It's making me feel better because that's what I've been the most interested in with him. Because I just don't want to take Vala anymore. I just feel she's too volatile. She seems almost binary is a word I use to describe Vala. I feel like I'm either just totally owning or I'm getting deleted constantly.
That's fair.
And Raynor is typically taken away. It's very popular, at least where I am at in the ranks at the moment.
Gotcha.
So I've been wanting to add another auto attacker, and I'm like, oh, maybe Falstad, but everyone just wants Mage Falstad, and that's been scaring me away from him. Honestly, I've been scared away from Falstad. So help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only Falstad hope.
Same with me. I don't want to, I don't want to upset people. Thrall's making his way in there. I don't know what it is about Thrall that just doesn't click for me. Honestly, if you get right down to it, where it really is happening is I have to break down my ego, and I am very cautious about Maw, Sundering, and Mighty Gust. I really, and ETC's Mosh Pit, I really hate those heroics because it is 100% a call to action. Either you do it and no one's around, no one succeeds in the awesome thing you did, or you ruin the game for everybody by being bad at those 2, 3, 4 ults.
I do not blame you at all for that because I definitely had that issue for a very long time, and I'm sure a lot of listeners are like, "Oh, scared about to try and give advice to Kyle," and I am, but I think that's okay as long it's an okay fear to have if there's someone else on your team that also has a playmaking ult, to where if you double them up, you're ruining it. But I think if you're really the only one with an ult that is a playmaker like Sundering, it's okay to get a little aggressive with it.
I agree, and I will in the future avoid picking those sort of characters with an ETC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be my sort of classifier there. Maybe Sundering's okay because I can push people into it, but a lot of those other alts just have too much potential to make things go wrong. And I feel like at my league, Zeratul is not a good pick, but we're hearing a lot of stories out of people in lower leagues where I'm just going, go Zeratul. And all I can think to myself is, you wrote this tweet at me. You're just talking about dudes in lane on by themselves. Go Zeratul. Kill them. Just kill them all.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Adjust to your own personal meta. I mean, it's what you have to do, right? Because if you're bronze, gold, silver, whatever, probably studying MVP versus Tempest not going to help you all that much.
No, and like last week, I had that Chromie shown as the 4th pick. I was 1st pick. I went Zool. I thought, how awesome. What a great combo. No. Make that Chromie adapt to me. I'm going to take something powerful in the beginning.
Well done. Well done. Well, let's digress. Let's move on because there's other things to discuss. Last week, we dove into Team 1's discussion about health sustain and changes that they're thinking about making to health sustain, health regeneration, healing, and stuff like that. And we got an update. So they gave some. They started off by giving some insight into their design process. They said that they often explore new changes by testing extremes, and that though testing that way gives them very quickly gives them a good gauge on if they are or not on the right track. So they did say if the change we are testing is pushing the game in the desired direction, then they will often fine-tune the change and hone in on what they feel is the correct tuning. And that's why they might start off with something like Healing Fountain going from 100 to 300 seconds on the cooldown, and then they slow it, they scale it down. They tweak it over time to where it got to where it was when they talked about it last week, which was just taking it from 100 seconds to 120 seconds. So that's a result of taking it to the far extreme of an insane cooldown increase and then working it back from there. And that makes sense to me.
And it's got to be a horrific job of editing down heroes and gameplay in order to account for the pros, because these guys are programmers, they're day jobbers, you know. They have to be scared when they make something like Tracer. Yeah, sure, we're owning in our games here, but what does it look like in their hands?
Right. And that makes sense to me. I feel like they should be doing that, right? Because it's not something they can do with that's not something that's going to show up on the PTR.
No, and they do. I love open Blizzard, but they still need to put up a good stage, put on a show, and say we're the final line.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. I like that quite a bit. I really like where they're at right now, Team One in general, the way they handle things. They're letting
all across Blizzard.
Yeah,
David Kim just got on a video.
What? No.
David Kim's face was on a video for StarCraft talking to people about the video game.
I was assuming he was a vampire, and his image could not be captured by mere mortal instruments.
I don't blame him. You know, Ice Frog, who is the creator of Dota, one of the main creators anyway, he took over the job. But he is still Ice Frog, and nobody knows who he is. And probably because people would come after him.
Most likely. Most likely. I don't know. Clearly, I don't understand that because I'm sitting here talking to you, Kyle, on the internet publicly with my real name being used.
Right. Well, we're video game journalists, you know. We're not
quotes.
right. I bet you know, a lot of those soccer players, I bet you they'd wear a paper bag on their heads if they could. Like, there's probably a lot of death threats those dudes get for gambling or whatever horrible choice you made about their game.
I don't know, man. Anyway, let's continue talking about the health sustain response that we got. So they talked about regeneration globes. Apparently, they liked the suggestion that the regeneration globes could time out quicker. Because remember, and by the way, if you want to hear us kind of discuss this in full, please see episode 112 last week with Dunk Train, where we kind of went into their original suggestions pretty deep. But there was a lot of talk about denying regeneration globes and how they want to make you A, want to get regeneration globes, and B, want to deny your opponents from getting regeneration globes. And I like the suggestion too, Kyle.
If they went away quicker, maybe I would be less seduced to get them when I don't need them, but I think I'd just get in more trouble there.
Well, you'd have to learn, right?
I'd have to learn it to control myself.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah, damn it. You have to learn something. Deal with it.
I like it. I think the current math on regeneration globes is very, we did it as we built it. And going to a full % is very nice.
Mm-hmm. On the subject of passive regenerations, this is the rate that your health regenerates, well, passively. They talked about, many people suggested that it makes sense to do this on some characters and not on others. So, you know, tweaking it or reining it in. They said, you know, hey, it makes sense on a warrior. A big part of being a warrior is being tanky and having a tanky, you know, fast health regeneration. And then so they went on to say that, you know, they could see warriors and maybe say a hero like Murky maintaining their health regeneration while a character like Nova probably does not need health regeneration. What do you think about that? Kind of picking and choosing based on the design, the kit of the hero.
I think it's a great choice. We don't have a lot of ways to affect heroes outside of their kits. I mean, your body size, that's a factor. Some, you know, big fat Asmodean gets stuck in the hallway. Murky doesn't. But beyond that, a lot of other MOBAs have penetration, armor, different types of attacks, chaos damage, hero damage, normal damage, piercing damage. Like, there's lots of ways to tweak a hero. And sometimes upping a character's armor by 1 is enough of a buff. So if we change around health regeneration like this, that could be good.
Yeah, I like it. I like it overall. Also, next time you say Fat Asmodean, please play on words and say Fat Asmodean.
Oh, noted.
Yeah, please and thank you. Yeah, overall, I like this. I would really, where my brain goes with this, and you can tell that I have an obsession about design and interface design. If this happens, I would really like when you check on the different hero listings in the game that there's some type of big. They let you know, hey, this hero has health regeneration, and they make it very clear which ones do and do not have it. And it's got its nice shiny little icon. They make a little hero's icon for health regeneration. So when you tab over ETC, it's like, yeah, he's got it. And then you tab over and over, and you're like, oh, it's not there. I guess she doesn't have it.
Most people don't know you can press the C button to see your stats in game.
Yeah.
If that was cleaned up, and right now it's a little Excel sheet. You just change it up, make it flashy. This character has health regen. Ooh, a little heart spinning with green stuff. Looks great.
Yep. Heroes is very damn flashy. You're right. That stat screen has not been has I feel like it just got stuck in tech alpha and hasn't really been touched since.
It's on the bottom of my list, right?
That doesn't matter. It's fine for it to stay the way it is, but
and those stats aren't important to me because I can't click other heroes and see their stats. I just go off of feeling, which works pretty well in this game. But in Dota, if I had a spell that did 500 and I had another spell that did 300, I'd click me, I'd click them, I'd check their armor, I'd check their spell resistance, do the math of 30% spell resistance. Okay, I do 800 damage. I need to get them to X health before I can do my combo and kill them. That was a legit part of that game.
Yes, and it is non-existent here because you can't do that type of stuff on the fly.
And it's nice to not have to.
Yeah. Okay, I'm okay with that. Let's talk about regeneration globes outside of them considering just making them dissipate sooner. So last week we talked about how they were internally testing, changing how much health and mana regeneration globes return to you to 12% health, 8% mana. And they said that they are liking that internally. And they have actually just started experimenting with making the globes time out quicker because of player suggestions. So they are still testing that, but they did say that they're hoping to have something out soon for us to play with in regards to this. So I don't know if that means, I'm assuming that means it's going to end up on the PTR. Do you think they're going to make a change like this, just go straight to the live game?
I think they do a PTR for it, and I think they'd squeeze it in with whatever hero's happening at the time. I mean, we're coming up. Next week will be the new hero if we're sticking to schedules, and we haven't heard any announcement that this is a clean season, and we're going to make up for our 2 or 3 heroes that would have come out during it in one lump sum at the end of it.
Sorry, what?
We haven't heard anything about heroes not being released during the season, is what I'm saying.
Oh, gotcha.
So next week would be the release of, or the PTR of whatever is coming next.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's strange that we haven't even gotten a preview at this point. Because usually we know before they hit the PTR.
We got the hint, right? Is it Gul'dan? Maybe?
Yeah, but I don't know. Usually we hear in chunks, right? The next 3 heroes will be, unless it's something like Artanis that's coming out with StarCraft or Tracer's coming out with Overwatch. Those are kind of your exceptions. I'm trying to think of another example of when we only heard about one hero.
We heard about one at a time during the Diablo event, but they were all pretty hinted at.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was part of that. Man, I'm really sad to hear they're not doing another one of those. Anyways, not going down that rabbit hole again.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I get it.
Yep. They talked more on healing fountains, and they said that the general consensus is that they are working pretty well as is, but they still think a small change would be good. So don't expect to see the cooldown going up to 300 seconds, guys, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the 120 seconds show up on the PTR. And then finally, passive regeneration and sustain talents. They said that they will not be making changes to passive regeneration or regeneration talents as a whole.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
And then they brought up support characters that we'll have a bigger conversation about that later on, and which we are all kind of sitting there saying, bring it.
Yeah. And there's even more info in here to be digested. We just hit kind of the big highlights. Go head over to the official Heroes Forum for more information about this and check it out. I'm really interested in these changes. Now let's talk about this week's mini news, kind of rapid fire. McIntyre left Naventic, if we're going to be talking about rosters. So McIntyre is a free agent now, Kyle.
Yeah, seems like no fault of his, or at least he brought some good PR with him. Everyone's been loving on him, and he's a great player at the moment. It seems that Zuna didn't want to tank. McIntyre was being stuck on tank. He is not a good tank, and so he was, let go of the team.
Seems pretty cut and dry to me.
They need a tank. This guy wasn't the tank. So he's moving on. He's going to go carry elsewhere, and he will. He's good.
He is. He really is. So, hey, not everything needs to be mired in drama, right? Right, Kyle?
Right. I could be wrong.
Back me up. Also, if you'd missed Team Dignitas's roster prank, I'm just not going to spoil it. Just go look it up. Go to link in the show notes. We got some hints to hero changes. Kyle Spirian talked about incoming material changes. He said that his mana cost changes are not the end of the adjustments coming to our favorite angel.
Cool. Really interesting tidbit after seeing him perform so darn well on Towers of Doom for Tempest.
Yeah, but again, it's not like he was dominating the entire tournament.
No, not at all. That was just clutch sanctifications, the force walls, everything came together. But they said it won't be a full rework, but they're going to target his talents.
Okay. All right. Interested to see what comes out of there. And Centauric talked about incoming changes for Kharazim to Insight. And this was a reply to a thread on the Heroes subreddit talking about how basically every single Kharazim takes a healing talent.
There's no reason not to right now. So it looks like they're going to jazz it up.
Yep. Grandmasters have been having queue problems, apparently. Grandmasters getting matched up against bronze players, against silver players. We both looked around, didn't really see anything from Blizzard on this in this regard.
There is an announcement from Dustin Browder just saying it's been seen and it is being discussed.
All right. So I'm just assuming it's got to be some type of bug.
Well, and the main offenders of these are the duo stacking grandmasters who are trying to grind up. They're hitting the YOLO 600. It's when you go too deep into it and it searches for too long and the game kind of loosens its MMR requirements to make you a match. And
you say loosen. I would say the button broke and the pants just fell off.
The rules go flying out the window and it's going to give you a match right now. And everything seems good in the draft. And then on a load screen, and we have several screenshots here in the notes, things look very wrong with a silver with the diamonds or some bronze to even out these grandmasters.
Yeah. Anyways, so hey Kyle, if you've been having toxic people in your games, Blizzard has been delivering justice. We had Glaxagrav straight up calling out a silenced player who was saying, "Hey, why was I silenced?" by posting their chat logs, and it is toxic.
And this is fantastic. I love Light Smites from League of Legends. It was a great read. And I'm happy to see that if you choose to call Blizzard out publicly, they will shame you publicly.
Yeah, they will.
And then he got on Reddit and said, guys, this is why we have a repeal part of the email list where you can email us directly and say, why am I silenced? And we'll let you know without splashing your name all over the internet.
Yes. But if you make it public, they will answer you publicly.
Seems just.
I think it's fine too. So, hey, jerks within earshot, please keep doing this because I find this highly amusing.
I agree.
Indeed.
And justice demands retribution.
We also wanted to make quick mention of non-Heroes games at Blizzard that are, they have a competitive edge and are making some interesting changes. StarCraft specifically now has a visible MMR rank in-game.
It does. It has allusions to it, but they don't cover MMR. You still have gold, platinum, diamond, all those sort of things. You get a pretty little shield to put next to your MMR, but when you finish a game in StarCraft, you see your MMR, you see the other guy's MMR, and you know basically why you got as many points as you did.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
then Overwatch turned off its avoid this player feature.
That poor Widowmaker player.
Yes. So if you're unaware of what happened, people were using it not to necessarily avoid mean, spirited, toxic players, but they were flagging players to avoid that were too good. So one particular Widowmaker player, who was apparently quite the fantastic sniper, found themselves with the world's longest queues. And reached out to Blizzard, and Blizzard realized, oh, crap, our avoid this player feature is not working as intended.
Not only that, but he would then go into the YOLO whatever number it is over in Overwatch and end up facing new players to the game who hadn't had a settled MMR versus this amazing, crazy Widowmaker. So a little bit of insight as to why avoid this player might be abused in Heroes of the Storm and probably won't be coming to it.
Yeah. So, and then one little Dustin Browder tweet that was just fun as all get out. Apparently, the summer championships were so good, meetings at Blizzard were canceled.
That's fantastic.
Yes, I love this. Just fantastic.
It's important for them to watch those things, I think.
Yeah, if there's any place in the world where you can say watching esports is a job, I would assume the offices of the folks that built the game that is currently being played professionally is where that is an excuse. Cool. Anyways, before we take some emails and wrap this up, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN who are supporting this podcast. We cannot thank you guys enough. But we will try by thanking 8 of you this episode. Adam B., Chance, Stephen E., Rod D., Chris B., Matt B., Zach B., and Michael B. A lot of B last names this week. Thank you all so much for supporting Into the Nexus, guys. It helps way more than you know.
It's all true.
Now, let's take an email or two.
Darkness stopped calling.
Does anyone else hear that buzzing?
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
I do hear that buzzing all the time. And that's why I can't sleep. You can send your email to itncast@gmail.com. Phaedrus writes in this week and says, can you guys please talk about cleanse and how to use it? And basically asks, hey, should I pre-cleanse? Should I not pre-cleanse? What's the deal, yo?
So, I think in our own solo queue games, in fact, let's take off that thing. In your own solo queue games, the likelihood of you actually landing one of these crazy clutch cleanses are pretty darn low. So I would go ahead and if your spec is better without it, just skip the cleanse, unless you know full well there's going to be an ability that is going to make your team very angry if they don't get cleansed out of this. Or the ability is so darn easy to cleanse, you just take it because you know you'll be able to land it.
Bone prison.
Bone prison.
Mosh pit.
Mosh pit.
Yep.
Those are the big ones.
Yep.
A mind control out of a Sylvanas. That stinks. It has a little bit of a wind up. There's a purple laser flying across the field that's practically invisible on doing the Spider Queen. But that's kind of hard. It's one hero selecting one of your team to do this one thing, and it happens rather fast, usually from a bush. That's not really important to me. If you're up against Jaina and you want to get rid of slows, if Falstad hits his Hammerang and you want to get rid of that slow, that's not important to me. Those are situations where that person probably was standing in the wrong place and they would be dead anyway, even if you cleansed. But Bone Prison, everyone's running back, one person gets left behind. Pretty clear you should have just gone ahead and picked it up. So judge for yourself. Basically, those few that we mentioned right now, are you up against them? No, keep your spec intact. I mean, if you're doing Lili here and you're doing like a Serpent build, one of your big talents is at 7 for that Serpent build.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to say, though, Kyle, is with a hero like Sylvanas, I want to add the asterisk of you have to pick cleanse before they pick their heroic.
That is true.
Unless you're really far behind, but then you have other problems.
And ETCs are taking stage dive right now, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because it's an easily counterable thing. And ETCs will look at the field and say, they've got Cleanse, they have a new Barak, and Muradin. I'm not going into this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad choice.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is, like you said, I feel it is a judgment call. So I guess obviously the safest one is Zul because he has Bone Prison from level 1 and always will. But against ETC, against Sylvanas, and heroes like that, you need to figure it out for yourself. I think it's a pretty safe bet against ETC, personally.
I think so. You might save the team. Either way, people will be happy to see it on your kit against an ETC.
Yes.
And on like Morales, you have some really cute choices. You got Mule, Irradiate, Clear. Like those can all be an interesting part of your kit. But you could just cleanse. You're probably taking Morales because you want to save one super person. You want to stim that one super person. I would not concern yourself, in particular the writer here, Phaedrus, with pre-cleansing people as they dive into a fight. will most likely not work out
Yeah,
without voice comms.
it's only 1 second of unstoppable.
And that might carry them in, and maybe they dodge something cool. But don't even waste the APM, the button mashes per second, on doing something that fancy. I would rather you were just walking in range of them and kept your laser heal from Morales on the person and concerned yourself more with positioning.
Yep, I agree. I mostly just save it for those big things like we already mentioned, or if the opposing team is extremely stun heavy just in general, and I'm worried about chain stuns.
That's a good place to do it too, but don't worry about it.
Yep. Any closing thoughts on that, Kyle?
Honestly, if you're not even comfortable with it, pick something else. Pick a passive.
I used to disagree with you, but I'm pretty much in your camp at this point. So
It's not worth it.
it's tough. It is tough. Obviously, you're playing, with like 5 of your buddies, and you can coordinate and whatnot.
Right. I mean,
Go for it.
Then we're looking at the same sort of thing with these Muradin win rates, with Uther's win rate. Like, Uther's win rate's bad because it's long cooldowns, it's slow, it's hard to coordinate divine shields, but who cares about the win rate in Team League? Uther can be great there.
Yep, absolutely. Who cares about Medivh's win rate when you can play after show games with Dunk Train?
Right? Come on, right? Everyone knows Dunk Train.
Everyone knows Cho'Gall
get him
Cho'Gall
in your
Medivh is the
Exactly. where
where it's at. Come on. Let's do this.
Tankless, Medivh,
If you guys missed last week's after show, you owe it to yourself to go to youtube.com/AMoveTV and watch it. Holy crap. Corey writes in for our next email and says, I consider myself a member of the Secret Chen Club, and your recent comments on the show have given me 2 questions I feel worthy of interesting discussion. Question 1, what hero do you absolutely love but took forever to try out? Let's stop there. And I wish I had thought ahead or read ahead. Kyle?
Well, I mean, for me, it was Gazlo because he was dumb looking. But I knew in my heart that I love turrets. I love turrets, serpent wards, whatever it may be in any game. Love things. Particularly if it's a game where I have to aim, like Overwatch. Love turrets. Oh my goodness. Just do it for me.
I think for me, it's Murky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not Lily, because I remember the hate.
I did really hate Lily, but I really hated Murky too. And while I do really enjoy the chance to take a Lily, especially if I can go a more damage-centric build, because I think it's just absurd, the numbers that you can put up as Lily, the pure joy I get from a game that I get to play as Murky, it's just too much, Kyle. I can't... I really thought Murky was a dumb hero. And then I sat down with Kristen, your wife, and she coached me in the ways of the constantly dying Murloc baby.
Being as annoying as possible. That's not a knock against her. She just knows how to play that hero.
Good.
She wants to get in your head. She's excited about that.
Good cover, Kyle. Good cover. Yeah, I'll go. Murky is my answer. Lily is the runner-up.
For recent sake, I feel like Gazlo's going back to the beta at this point because I've well embraced him at this point thanks to Mad Martian Gazlo. Falstad, man, at this Thunder Chicken thing. I really held out. I really wanted that Falstad nerf to happen, and instead they got rid of Hinterland Blast. Like, they put it at 2 full minutes. So I just don't take it because I can just teach myself how to wins better.
Exactly.
Wins to win.
Kyle needs to learn how to pass win better. Let's take Corey's second question. He said, Chen is listed as hard on the hero select. While I'm aware these are guidelines, do you both feel it's good for the game to have these heroes that are generally more difficult to play? Yes, absolutely. I don't think we should have a homogenized skill floor across every hero in the game.
I agree. I think we're all still a little confused by the heroes rating system of easy, medium, hard, very hard.
I think it's pointless and you should ignore it entirely.
I think the better thing to do would be to gauge these heroes by how close they are to maybe that homogenized line. Like, how bad would it be for me to just load up Vala and get in lane and start auto-attacking? For the most part, Hunkering Era, I shoot it once, I go, oh, it bounces. Cool. If someone's by themselves, it bounce on them that many times. Excellent. Do my multi-shot. Oh, area effect damage. Like, there's very little room to be wrong with Vala. But on Chen, there's a lot of room to be wrong. If
That is
you
true.
do a kick and then you start auto-attacking, you're doing it wrong. You've taken away a huge amount of your survivability by auto-attacking at all, really, unless you're just straight up winning on Chen. You should jump, keg smash, flame, drink, do it again, drink, and then do the combo again, and keep refilling your mana, keep giving yourself shields, and that's a little nuanced. And it's not going to be the first thing you do when you get the character. That deserves some sort of higher rating on the difficulty.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of just true, really, of any hero where they are combo dependent. Because I'm thinking of Kerrigan now. You've got me thinking of Kerrigan, who I would put right up there with Chen.
And in today's meta, we would put Kerrigan even higher because of her power on that one specific map, Infernal Shrines, and her lack of power on other ones.
Yeah, that's also a good point. But
that kind of speaks to an overall problem that's happening with the Heroes community right now. You can see it on Reddit. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of frustration in our A-Move chat right now, both on this Twitch and in-game. If you listen to this podcast, if you read Reddit, you are part of a select few that have decided to maybe put away your egos a little bit and get more game knowledge to get better, get good, as they say these days. And not everyone does that. And we have a lot of casual players, and they simply don't have this wealth of information available to them, or they haven't suck it out. And those make for frustrating times.
yeah. So, yeah. That's all I really have to say on the subject.
I would have to agree, though, that Blizzard's very hard category is only 3 heroes right now. Abathur, Lost Vikings, Medivh, and that's pretty spot on.
I wouldn't argue with those 3. I might add a couple more in there, but the 3 that
Sure.
are there, I would agree with. But the fact that like Uther is listed under easy,
That is a fascinating one, the way we know how to play him. There is an easy build you can do, but whew, I mean, why isn't Morales an easy?
that's a very good. Well, I guess because you could, I don't know, you could take medevac.
You could auto attack, right? Like
Yes.
you could get yourself out of position by thinking you have to auto attack on medic,
could.
and then you screw up. So
You
maybe
could.
in that Chen camp in that way.
That's very true. But Uther, you could think, hey, I should just walk right into all 5 enemies and stun a guy.
If you played before the scaling changes, you might just think that.
Not even that. I'm just saying, if it's your first time playing him, you could think that.
I mean, we can go down a nice memory road here where Uther used to hit things with hammer while he was dead, and he had all of his spells available to cast a second time.
Let's not go there, Kyle.
Oh, but I'm a holy priest, man, and wow. You know how often I've said, I'm going to die for the protection of all, and jumped into the pit to get all those free spells?
Do you know how many times I did that at the beginning of this game's testing?
With Uther?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how double divine storm, man. Kill me.
For
Kill me.
justice. Yep. Kill me. Yeah, playing Uther was surprisingly a lot like playing the Joker from Dark Knight. You know, just standing in the middle of the road yelling, hit me!
Mad dog.
Indeed. Wouldn't know what to do with the car if I actually caught it.
Caught him.
Anywho. Finally, our last email comes to us from Feral Fish, who writes, I've noticed I seem to be okay at team fights, but bad at small skirmishes. Maps which force small fights, like Towers of Doom or Tomb of the Spider Queen, have much lower win rates for me on hot slogs. I also tend to do worse on weekend nights, which I think may be because people tend to cooperate less as a team at those times. All right. Do you have any tips for winning small skirmishes with 1 to 3 heroes on each side? I think there may be something I'm missing, which is skewing my win rates. I'm playing Bronze League playing Bronze in Hero League. This is interesting. I'm always interested in the social aspect of time and what day you're playing.
Definitely. And he's saying weekday nights. And using bronze.
Weekend nights.
Oh, weekend. Okay.
Which I would agree.
Everything makes sense.
I think there'd be more ego on weekend evenings.
It's not so much an ego problem. It's just a lack of practice. You know, Friday nights are rough because people haven't been playing all week.
Yeah.
And they just did that drive home. They sat there all day. I've watched that clock before on Friday, too. It's easy to get a little uppity by the time you get to your night games.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what he means by small skirmishes. Like, well, here's a better question, Kyle. Where do you delineate between what is a team fight and what is a skirmish?
I think a skirmish is anything that happens outside the objective. Let's just say that as a sort of a broad generalization.
Okay. All right, fair
because
enough.
those are optional fights always.
Yes.
And skirmishes kind of have this optional feel to them. Maybe you're trying to get a pickup. Maybe you know that objective's coming and you have the level lead, so you're going to encourage a fight regardless of everyone being present for it. I think he brings up some two very interesting maps here, and that's something people can do at home as well. Go to Hot Slogs, check your win rates on your maps, and draw connections between them. If you find out that you are just amazing at Battlefield of Eternity and Cursed Hollow, you can read into that. Say, I am great at getting to objectives on time when there's a single objective. But then you look at your win rates on something like Sky Temple and Towers of Doom, and you can say to yourself, okay, I am not good at making choices when there are two objectives spawning at the same time. What characters can I pick to change that? Maybe I need to go global on those certain maps. Maybe that would help me get there on time.
That's true. In a lot of those cases, the decision can be made for you. I would also argue that the team may make that decision for you. But getting back to this,
because Spider Queen's a really rough one. It's
right.
It has no call to action.
No, it doesn't.
Outside of dealing with the spiders when they come down. But for the most part, someone should be giving you some sort of sight. We need to be watching those turn-ins, making sure they don't have enough gems to get the spiders in the first place.
That's the thing. I would say the UI update that happened a while ago now is a call to action, but it's this extra layer. It doesn't let you know. But if you're keeping an eye on it and you know how many gems they have and how many gems they already have turned in, it's like Blackheart's Bay, for example. Blackheart's Bay has this hidden call to action. Yes, the coins pop and Blackheart gets, very loud and rum-soaked about it. But the hidden call to action is, do they have enough coins for a hand in? Okay, they do. We need to go defend the turn in. And the same thing happens on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
And Towers of Doom kind of falls into this camp because of 3 towers popping at the same exact moment and building a strategy very quickly with your team as to what you're going to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a couple options. You can change your heroes. You can change the way you play by being the shot caller. You could say, I know I'm the best, and I'm going to say, Sonya, guard the bottom, everyone else top. And something even that simple, just anybody having a plan will be better than what's currently going on. As for the skirmishes, it's tough to say. They're all fights. The first thing that comes to mind is sort of the checklist. Are target priorities. Are you guys all targeting different heroes so no one's dying?
Yeah.
What did you engage a fight that was lost anyway and you just wanted to be there WoW style? This isn't WoW. It's okay to let someone just die. They're not going to kick you from the party. They can't. They're not going to force you to surrender. They can.
Yeah. The other question is and I'm hesitant. I'm not sure how to word this. I feel like it can sound very mean, but you say you do well in team fights. How much are you leaving that up to your team? Are you going in? Are you really paying attention to the draft? Do you know all of the abilities that could potentially come down the tube at you from what your opponents are playing? So are you getting into team fights and are they going well because it just kind of works out because of what your other teammates were doing? Maybe you need to study up on the abilities and how to counter them with certain heroes so that when you end up in a 2v2 or a 3v3, 4v4 skirmish, you have the knowledge to help guide you through that fight.
And use that actively for yourself. Don't do it in the own draft. That's the problem I'm having right now, why I've kind of had this discussion over this episode, is I've gotten too fancy. I'm going, I can't gray main. They have Kael'thas. What's the chances of Kael'thas actually hitting me with that stun and killing me? What's the chances of me just coming around the side after he's using a stun and just killing it?
Right.
They're pretty high.
It's on a cooldown.
Yeah. So
it's not Li Ming as far as his gravity lapse is concerned.
And I'm getting to eSports about it. What's most likely happening here is you are overthinking it. You're going to be picking that Zul because you saw the Chromie, because you saw something that you wanted to combo together, some executioner. When really, if you feel like you need to take control of the fights, you want to get out of bronze and grind yourself up, pick that gray main, let everyone else do all the fancy stuff, and you make the shots because you dove in.
I feel like this conversation, we're going a bit, it's like you have come full circle, Kyle, back to what I thought was a really simple, tidy wrap-up of how you hit rank 1 the first time in the preseason, which was just play the heroes you're good at.
Yep.
Just figure out your top three rotating stable of heroes that you're just good at, and don't go full esports.
Yes. And if you have trouble maps, find the hero that covers you there.
Yeah, and I would say that's especially true if you're in the lower leagues. Chances are your opponents and your teammates aren't necessarily going to have that type of knowledge to know what combos well and how to play as a team. Really, you should just be picking what you can play the best and bring the most skill you can to the team.
Well, and I'm not going to lie here. I had a full strategy written up for today, and it was all about what you can do to win real hard and why you're protecting your ego in the background. And these conversations with MMR Hell are circling right now. But I want more information before we go into that. We're going to do a investigative report. What I want people to do out there, if you feel like you are trapped in bronze due to other people, if you are trapped in even gold due to other people, I want to see those replays. I don't want to see bots. I don't want to see you get trolled. Those would be cute, and I could make a real nice video out of them. But like, I want to see actually like your game where you tried as hard as you could, but that something on your team was just bad. Someone was holding you back all the time. There was nothing you could do, or you won and you feel like you just underperformed. Like you don't know why you won. You just kind of steamrolled. I want to see those replays. Send those replays over to soloqacast@gmail.com.
I have a Rainer game for you.
Then shoot it on over, man. If you're talking about the one I know you're talking about,
It's exactly that game.
I would still love to see it because,
Okay.
and I saw your score screen there. I thought you did everything you could, but there may be something more you could have done.
All right. Sounds good.
So I want to see those soloqacast@gmail.com. I will be watching those live this Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson. If you're not familiar with Solo Q&A, that's the solo show I do on Heroes of the Storm.
It is absolutely fantastic. Go watch it. And thank you for your emails, everyone. Again, you can always send those into itncast@gmail.com. But again, don't forget to send in your replays to Kyle at soloqacast@gmail.com. That will do it for this week's episode of Into the Nexus. If you're a patron, hang around for the after show games. That's about it. Thanks again to our patrons. Guys, you're awesome. You're supporting Kyle. You're supporting me. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And if you like the show, if you want to support us, go to patreon.com/ITN.
It really can't be said enough. I'm going to have to interrupt you just to gush a little bit more. Investigative reports, things like the toxicity talk we had, those take research. Those take time to put together. And the patrons have allowed us to have this time to make this show as crafted as it can be each week. And I truly appreciate it.
Well said. I never used to be able to put this much time into podcasts. So thank you guys. Also, if you're iTunes listeners, and you want to help us get new listeners, you like the show, drop us a 5-star review on iTunes. Helps us out a lot. As always, we're produced by amove.tv and our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. You can get our swag and merchandise over at bit.ly/amovestore. Catch us live every Thursday night right here on twitch.tv/amovetv or on alphageekradio.com. Follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast, and a huge thanks to Gorath for our intro and outro music. Also check out Brian Griffith. His music can also be heard around the show over at briangriffithmusic.com. Kyle, where can folks find you?
You could find me over at kyleferguson.com for Heroes of the Storm lessons. You can find all the links to all my solo QA business. If you're interested in those Falstad games, those will be up shortly over at youtube.com/Kyle Ferguson.
Buddy. Follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art, and everything else is over at amove.tv. Doing a new Overwatchers tomorrow. We had to bump it this week. Have an Embrace the Spoilers for the Warcraft movie up, where Kyle and I joined Jocelyn and talked about it. And all kinds of other jazz going on over at amove.tv. So check it out. And also check out doghousesystems.com, where you can use the code ITN to get a free solid-state drive added onto your gaming rig. You can also use the code ITN over at tweakedaudio.com to get 30% off plus free shipping off of your entire order of noise-reducing earbuds from Tweaked Audio. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening, and we will see you in a week's time for Into the Nexus episode 114. Until then, good luck and have fun.
Take care.